Hello, welcome back to my daily Silk Road mountain race coverage. We're now on day 6 and let's have a little look at the tracker and see what's been happening over in Kyrgyzstan. Now today's update is a little earlier than usual, so there's not been massive progress. I'm basically away for a couple of days now, so I'm afraid you're going to have to do your own dot watching for the next couple of days. I'm actually going to do an event, so I shall have my next update Sunday evening. So I'll set you some homework so you can do your own dot watching while I'm away. But when I left it yesterday, the riders were approaching CP3, and basically Tom and Joe got to CP3. You may remember I was saying they timed it really well with sleeping. So they both they both stopped, had a good resupply at CP3. Then they got to Narin and were able to sleep, and then they both made it to CP3 and were able to sleep. So they're on a really good resupply. That's really going to pay off in the long run. It does, however, mean that they're very close together. So Tom, they're basically neck and neck. Their trackers 11 minutes ago and 9 minutes ago were the updates on the trackers there. So they're basically, they can probably see each other at times. That's going to be a match of kilometers. I suspect they left at the same time, 6K. Tom's still got the edge over Joe, but it's anyone's race at the moment, I think. I'm pretty sure the win's going to come from those two riders now, as we head into kind of, I guess this is the end game of the race. You can see now they've made their way through the bulk of it. So the next section, I'm not familiar with this particular section. This from here to the other side of Shamsi, I've not ridden, but I know that Tossal Pass, it's nice and easy to, well, I say nice and easy. It's a relatively easy pass to ride and quite pleasant. So they're over Tossal now. So now they've got this thing where they've got a pass between them and the chase pack, and that makes things quite difficult to close gaps. So that's why I'm saying I think it's going to be between those two unless anything happens. It is Kyrgyzstan, so stuff can happen. As I remind you last year, I was sort of just outside the top 10 going into the final checkpoint. I ended up finishing 7th, but there was 3 of us basically together at the end of the start of the final day. So things really can move around quickly in this race. So Marin, he got into the checkpoint later on and slept. The other two, Ron and Rufus, slept out on the trail. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up the graphs, graph selection, and this will show you they're kind of sleeping. So a horizontal line is not moving time. We can pretty much assume it's sleeping. And when they're moving, the graph will be trending upwards. And as you can see, both Tom and Joe had a fairly similar stop time at the checkpoint last night. You can see Tom started ever so slightly earlier. That would probably account for the gap. Marin, where's Marin? He's dropped a little bit. So he had a slightly longer sleep at the guest house, and it looks like Ron and Rufus slept on the trail and then just went straight through the checkpoint. They probably sort of got there while Marin was asleep and then jumped him. Probably means Marin has had a bit more rest, and would have slept at a lower altitude. And it looks like there was some pretty bad weather up high as well. We'll come on to that shortly when we get onto the social media. So, all these things are factors that could play into it. And then Angus and Vlad, a little bit further behind now, but it looks like they're in their own little scrap, with Omar just behind in the top 10 there. Hannah Simon, she's doing an awesome ride. She's gradually creeping up. She's now in 11th, and she's leading the female race. Emma Mizale, she is now probably about 50 or so. About 50 or so K behind. She's on the long climb up from Narin up to Arabel, the Arabel Pass. So that's again not an unclosable gap, but Hannah's doing an awesome ride. It'd be great to see her in the top 10 overall as well. And quite often the fastest women are way inside the top 10 in this race. Remember Lael came third a number of years back. Definitely a race that involves, it's not all about pure speed and power. There's a lot of factors involved in doing well in this race. So I'll do some housework before we go any further. Obviously Redshift supporting my coverage. Big thanks to those guys. I'm actually riding this kitchen sink bar setup at the weekend. I'm going up to Northumberland to do a race called the Land In Between, run by my friend Rich Rothwell, 350 miles around the north of England. And basically it's testing my knee after my issues at the Transcontinental race to see whether it's mended or not. So fingers crossed. And yeah, big thanks to Redshift, and there's the discount code below. So let's have a little look at what the riders are going to be facing over the coming days. I suspect by the time I get back on Sunday, the race will be won. I think it's probably 2 days from where the leaders are now, maybe 2 and a bit days, or 2 very long days. So they've just climbed over Tossor Pass here. I think we can probably get some Google images there. I've got no video of this whole section here, so there's not much I can show you, but there are a few little kind of clips that we can or like images we can look at. So Tossor, it's meant to be one of the best sort of rideable passes. You can see it in the background there. So big wide valleys, very typical of Kyrgyzstan. You may note there's snow on the tops, and it sounds like the weather's been turned over the last couple of days. We'll look at the map in a second. Wow, look at that, spectacular, absolutely spectacular. So that's the summit of Tossor Pass. You can see quite a well-driven track, so it shouldn't be technically any problem for these guys, but fatigue and weather probably catching up with them now. If we look at the sort of geography of Kyrgyzstan, let me put the terrain on. So you can see there's this big is it Cool Lake? I think it's how you pronounce it. And essentially the prevailing winds, you may remember we've been looking at the wind layers. It doesn't work on terrain, you have to put the Riber GPS maps on. And the wind layers have always predominantly been coming from the west to the east. And what happens is this lake kind of acts as it like condenses all the weather. So quite often on the eastern side of these mountains, these get a lot of the weather. So last year we started in Karakol, and went right out to the Chinese border up till Enichek here, and we came back in over some of these mountains, and it was pretty wild on the first night. And obviously when you're at 3,500-4,000 meters, if it's raining, it's not going to be rain, it's probably going to be snow. So yeah, it can be pretty wild, and it sounds like the riders have experienced that over the past couple of days, which is going to make things a lot tougher. If we look at the wind, you can see there's not much wind at the moment, so there might just be a big weather front sat over here, which means that it's not going to be pleasant up high for the next couple of days. But we'll look at the Riber GPS in a sec. The social media in a second. We can sort of see what's going on there. So the riders go over Tossor, and then this is a section that I showed you yesterday. They'll probably start passing other riders. You'll see, like Tom and Joe will probably pass sort of Artis, Hannah, maybe Martin, as they pass through, and it'd be quite nice just to say hi to other riders, bit of morale, as they sort of do this sort of, what is it, 1250, about 50k section, which they would have done already. And then after that, they head gradually downhill towards Shamsi Pass. Now, Shamsi's a big one. In actual fact, I'll just show you. Joe Nation put a video up. He did a bit of a recce before the race. Shows you what Shamsi's like. So I shall run over to YouTube now and just show you that. So Joe has a YouTube channel, and him and Rufus went up on a recce pre-race. You can see Shamsi at the top here, and there's a lot of hiker bike. So yeah, it's going to be tough, and the descent is kind of proper mountain biking as well. So let me see if I can find the descent anywhere. Oh, sorry, that's not Shamsi. That's Kageti. So this is Shamsi. So a lot of hiker bike on and off the bike, and you can see the descent is pretty sketchy. There's not really a pass there, but him and Rufus know this descent now. I expect that Joe's really going to use his local knowledge. Just remember, he used to race enduro on the mountain bike. He's a really, really good mountain biker, and I expect that he'll be trying to push a gap over Tom on this descent. So yeah, keep an eye out for that over the coming days, and that's the kind of thing you can expect. So Shamsi is here, and after Shamsi, you're into the bonus climbs. These are just grim. They're not massive in the grand scheme of things, but they definitely hurt you. And then the final long valley and the climb over Kokarik, that's a 4-hour hiker bike from this point here to there, and then basically an hour downhill, probably 2 hours to the finish from the summit there. So yeah, I suspect that these two riders, they're going to be staying together until Shamsi. That's where the break's going to be made, I expect. But then it's a tough finish, so we'll see if they're together up over the top. I mean, I don't know how good Tom is at mountain biking. I know Joe's excellent, so he could always get a bit of a gap and hold it on the final descent if it came to that. It's going to be really exciting to watch. It's a shame I'm not going to be able to see it live, but if I get back early enough Sunday, we might be able to see the finish. So yeah, plenty to look at, and it's going to be really exciting to see how things go over the next few days. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on there. Let's just have a little look at some of the social media, see what's been happening out there. So Tom has been posting a few little bits and pieces. You can see the ground is getting quite wet and sticky. So there's reports of storms up high, and you can hear the rain. That's quite nice at the moment, but I imagine storms are blowing in and blowing out quite quickly. Doesn't look like any snow, but you can see the ground's getting sticky. It's just going to make things a little bit harder. Not too much in the way of peanut butter mud in Kyrgyzstan, but it's heavy going and it makes life difficult. Other things, where are we? Let's have a look at the Silk Road mountain race official page. Amazing images coming out from CP2, the old Soviet road in the background there, heading up over the mountains. This is the checkpoint. This is the old Soviet road. You can see, I'll just follow my cursor straight up here, this grassy bank, round the corner here, and then up the top. And there's loads of, I think it's an old tank route or something like that. There's loads of barbed wire and stuff strewn around. You can't really ride it. It's just a hike, regardless of how good you are as a rider. And what a view. You can see it's looking moody up there. That's the checkpoint in the background. I was lucky enough to do it under clear blue skies last year, but I can imagine it closes in pretty quick. That looks like Marin currently he's kind of in that group fighting for third, just after dawn by the looks of it. And yeah, you can get punches even on an uphill because, like I said, there's barbed wire and stuff in there from the military days. And Hannah Simon as well. This gives you like an idea of how steep it is. Just look how steep, how high above her head handlebars are, just pushing up it. So yeah, definitely a challenge, but a spectacular one. And there's not many races you get to go to locations like this. And yeah, that looks grim. Look at that. The weather is really closed in up there, and the mid-pack are going to get it worse than anyone. Speaking of Hannah, she's put a few photos up. Photos aren't really what this post's about. Basically, she's been very open and saying she basically started her period at the start of the race, and just goes into details about basically how grim it is. So give that a ride, and just think about all the women who do have to deal with this on a race. It's just another factor which makes things very difficult. It's grim enough as a guy when you're like not showering for a week, but let alone being on your period at the same time. So yeah, good on you, Hannah, and check out that post and give it a read. Puts it in context for all those guys out there. So yeah, she's Hannah Simon over on Instagram. A nice post or some stories from Martin van Hebecker. Always struggle with his name. So they found the pizza place in Narin. That is pretty much the only pizza you'll be able to find on the Silk Road mountain race. Narin is kind of just the haven. I didn't find the pizza shop last time, but yeah, there is one out there. And yeah, just kind of views from the road really. There's the valley out of Narin is quite agricultural. They're bringing all the hay in at this time of year, and you can see it's like going back kind of 30-40 years, if not more, in Europe. That's the top of Mel's Pass, and you get these kind of these are the locals basically when you're up high. Live up high. Looks like a herd of yak, so would have been on the Chinese border. They live up there because they're the only animals that can survive in the winter. This looks like CP2. They've got quite a big yurt, so looks like they've upgraded for this year. And then this will be heading up towards the old military road, the Soviet road, and you can see looks like Martin had fairly good weather. I guess it comes in and out at the moment, and yeah, that's the road up to Arabel. So good images there, good shots from Martin, and he's doing fairly well, just outside the top 10. And then Silk Road mountain race, CP2. This is what grim weather looks like in Kyrgyzstan. It'll be freezing, only just above 0, I suspect. So yeah, it's tough, and there's no shelter once you're up there. That's the Soviet road. You can see the riders in the distance just going up. So yeah, good on them. Keep it going. And yeah, so that's that's pretty much all I've got for. Oh, there's me. Thanks for sharing my thanks for sharing my videos, guys at Silk Road. You can see the kind of surface just absolutely covered and caked in mud at the moment. Big waterproof gloves on, just makes everything difficult. So yeah, that is my update on day 6 of the Silk Road mountain race. As I said, I'm away for a couple of days. I'll have another update on Sunday, and hopefully we might have a winner by then. If we don't have a winner by then, they'll be very close. So I look forward to bringing you all of that on Sunday, and catch you all soon. Thanks for watching.